Hi, this is Kevin Quigley, and welcome to Tarot Off the Cuff. Lily McNamara has been known as the healer with the hat. She works with tarot, with Reiki, past lives work, and other things. She loves working with adults, children, and animals, and in particular, she calls to herself people who have experienced some trauma in their lives so that she can help them empower themselves towards their own healing.
Hello everyone and welcome to Tarot Off the Cuff. I am Lily McNamara and I am in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So today we are going to be using the Witch's Tarot. Beautiful deck. I'm a very visual person. So let's give it a quick shuffle. See what's going on. Okay. We have the Two of Swords. So I really like this card. I think it is just wonderful in its complexity. And so the Two of Swords has a lot to do. I'm moving the deck so that I do not knock it over like a genius. So the Two of Swords has a lot to do with like stalemates and being in a difficult position, which as a reader will happen. You will be put in difficult positions. You will be made to feel uncomfortable. And it's important that you set healthy boundaries for yourself while you do this, and what are your needs and what are things that you're willing to talk about and not talk about. So it's not just ever about the client or the person that you're reading for. You also need to feel safe and secure in the reading. So there are certain things that need to happen for that. The thing that I always tell people is never lie, never ever lie, whether you're the client or the reader. And so the thing is that if you're the client, the reader usually knows, and then it just gets awkward for everyone. Well, really, it gets awkward for the client. The reader's just like, BS. So always tell the truth. Now, there's the thing about the truth. There are different styles. The truth is always the truth, but you can be very blunt or you can be gentle, but never skew the truth in your reading. Always make it authentic. And so, because I've had readings with people who I was like, oh, what a bitch. She's so right. Because it was so blunt that it like hurt my feelings. But that's what I needed in the moment. So I honor that. But then it's also times where some subjects you're not comfortable or the client's not comfortable with having a very blunt conversation. Like, you fucked up, fix it type thing. And so you need to understand your boundaries with that and what you're comfortable with and what your style is. If you're super blunt all the time, rock it. If you're going to be more gentle and moving slowly with clients, honor that. There's no right or wrong way to tell the truth as long as it's the truth. Just make sure you're always telling the truth. And you're always telling clients if they've hit a boundary with you. Some clients will say inappropriate things because they lack boundaries. It's your job as the professional to go, no, that crosses one of my boundaries. Step back. And this can be like personally, like if someone comments about like your physical appearance in a really rude, crude way, that needs to be handled right away. But another one is when I have clients, there are questions that I refuse to answer. And it's because in the past, I used to, I'll answer anything. It'll be wonderful. I'm going to be honest. It's going to be great. And there are certain questions that no matter how honest you are, the client is never happy. And for me, these questions have been, is my husband, partner, significant other cheating, or are they happy? These are not questions that I answer anymore. If a client asks them, I say, I do not answer those questions. And I'll even explain, because no matter what answer I give, it has never been good enough. And people always kill the messenger with that particular question, at least in my experience. And I don't want to spend the rest of your session trying to justify something that is not going to work out for me. So that's a boundary that I have. Boundaries as readers count. As much as we are giving something to a client, we still have to honor ourselves, our integrity. You always tell the truth. You always set healthy boundaries. And you don't cross them. You don't cross your own boundaries for anything. And what I mean by that is there's always going to be some, you can do it for me. It's me. I'm special. You ain't special. You are just like every other beautiful soul that's walking in here, and I need to honor my boundaries with you no matter what. Thank you so much. Don't ask that question. Don't behave that way. Anything like that. There's never a situation where your integrity, self-worth, or boundaries should be crossed in a session. That's not something that is acceptable. And you should treat it that way, that it is a hard boundary for you to do that. And so with this, it's also being aware of the boundary of the client. So like I mentioned earlier, there are certain things that people will ask or want to talk about that if you're super blunt, may crush the client. And that's not what you want. As much as you want to be honest, you also need to be very honor where they're coming from. And so if someone's having a very hard time with something, especially sensitive topics, like anything to do with abuse or fertility or miscarriage or loss or grief or death, be aware of that. And you as the reader, it's your responsibility to read the room, to understand what's happening with your client enough to know that if you're going to be blunt, it may not go well. So the point is to get truth across while still honoring your boundaries and also making sure that the client is okay, because the reading is about the client and what they need, and they may not need you to be blunt. On the other hand, they may not need you to sugarcoat it. They may have had someone hold in their hand their whole damn life, and they need someone to just be like, ho, no, and just let them have it. And if that's the case, again, read the room and then just do it. So you're honoring yourself, your style, but you're also giving the client what they need. So topics that can be difficult to talk about for clients, you may be comfortable with. There's several things that I'm comfortable with that other people find taboo, and I'm perfectly fine with that because I've found my style and I'm very comfortable with how I read. Other people are like, oh no, I couldn't ask about like sex. No. If I get a reading where someone's like, okay, I want to do this, I'm like, oh yes, let's discuss this now. And I'm perfectly comfortable with that kind of conversation. But there are other conversations that I find very difficult because of personal experiences. And those, as much as you're a person, as a reader, and you need to honor your boundaries, don't bring your baggage into a reading. With your honesty, don't be like, oh, now I'm having such a hard time because this is all about me. It's not, it's about the client. And so with that, be open to that, and also separating like what is happening outside of the reading in your life, but what are you doing to help the client? What are you doing to engage with them? And so the reason that this really reminds me in this weird roundabout way, I'm sure everyone's going like, what? This is not the Two of Swords. The Two of Swords is a rock in a hard place. The Two of Swords can be a stalemate. It's this thing where it's like, oh, what do I do? And a lot of readers have a hard time when it comes to their boundaries. It's like, but they're the client. The client is always right. Not when it comes to you and your boundaries. You're right with you and your boundaries. You honor that. And it's also with the topics that, for me, setting the hard boundary, if you can't ask that question, like it's the one question that I won't answer. I'll answer anything else, but not that one. And it's because for me, in my personal experience, it has never gone well in the past. And so that's what made me come to that conclusion. And it could be something like that for you, or it could be that you know in your soul that it makes you uncomfortable or it crosses a boundary for you or something like that. So again, don't bring your baggage into the session. Don't try and make things go your way in a reading, because it is about the client, while still honoring your boundaries and what you need as a soul and as a reader and as a professional. Because when you're in a reading, you are the professional and you should be treated as such. I had a client once who was getting weird, and I simply told him, I'm like, I am the equivalent of your dentist. You should treat me that way. I am just another professional trying to help you to live the best life you can in a different modality, just not dentistry. And I said, if you're not capable of that, that's fine. I will refer you to another healer and you can go from there. And I ended up having to do that. And I do not for 1 second regret having to send a client away because of my boundaries, because of what I needed as a professional. As a professional, you should be treated professionally and with respect. And I don't mean that as like propriety or pompous or like Downton Abbey style. We're not getting that extreme. But we're all coming into this as human beings with an experience and needing something and needing boundaries. And so when your client comes in, they should respect you and you should respect your client. It should be mutual. It should be ongoing. It should not be like, oh, over time it'll just disintegrate. And so with that, like with setting your boundaries, again, certain people are going to ask for favors. No. That's just my personal opinion. You can of course do whatever you want, whatever feels right to you. But I have discovered, for me, I need boundaries with clients so that it's never like, oh, you're the exception. You get to pay later or pay half, or you get to interrupt me, by calling and texting and emailing while I'm off the clock. Those are things that I don't allow. I have other colleagues. I know a confidence coach who does that all the time, and she loves it. She loves being accessible because she feels like she gives, and that is beautiful. That is not how I roll. Again, those are my boundaries, and then those are her boundaries. Figure out what works for you. Figure out what your boundaries are. Figure out how you want to be treated professionally. Figure out what questions you won't answer. Again, boundaries. And figure out your style. Are you blunt or are you gentle? Are you a mixture? Does it depend upon the topic? I have, this just popped into my head. I have one colleague. She is wonderful, and she gets so many complaints at events because she is so blunt. And so it's gotten to the point where in the program, there's a little warning next to her name. If you don't want a blunt reading, don't go to her. Because she holds no punches. It is, and that is her style, and she owns it, and she rocks it, and she stays within her boundaries, and that's great. And so if you're that kind of person, maybe just give people a heads up. So the warning that I actually have to give people is that I swear, which I did not realize I would have to warn people about until I was called out at it at an event, that not everyone likes swearing and is comfortable with it. And so I now warn people when they sit down. I was like, okay, I swear. And if you don't like me swearing, please tell me, and I will rein it in and I will censor it as best I can. And so that's honoring their boundaries while still being true to myself. And it's just nice to make sure that they're comfortable, because some people are not okay with the F-bomb and everything like that. And I am very comfortable with cuss words like a sailor. And it's about honoring your client and coming to them on their level and really respecting that. So that's something that I actually really like. It's just a way to honor them while still being true to myself. So if you ever have something like that, I just suggest that you mention it to your clients right away. And it kind of takes away any awkwardness or them having to like stop the reading to talk about it or anything like that. So again, the Two of Swords, I'm going to bop it up one more time, which has to do with stalemates. And we're talking about being honest with yourself and your boundaries and really respecting yourself while respecting your client, always being true and finding your style with that. And we did use the Witch's Tarot deck today. So I hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you for coming and watching. Please come back, watch more videos, like, comment, share, interact. I would love to hear from you and hear what your boundaries are and respect them. I hope you have a wonderful day. I am Lily McNamara in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and this is Tarot Off the Cuff.
Hi, thanks for watching. This is Kevin Quigley with Tarot Off the Cuff. If you can take a second, click the subscribe button down below. That'll let you know when a new video is posted and you might want to jump over and watch it. If you hit the thumbs up for the videos that you really like, that will help spread the word so new people will find Tarot Off the Cuff in their feed, and that helps the channel grow. That would be great. And if you got a question or a comment, positive or negative, whether you agree or disagree, or if you want to add information or your own take on a particular card or a particular topic, put a comment down below. We would love to hear from you. Thanks so much.